at the ESPYs, we had Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, Chris Paul standing side by side. I believe they got a standing ovation at the ESPY Awards. Do you think the basketball, because they're our most visible, no helmets, they play indoors, so people of all colors go out and see them. Do you think the NBA would have took Coilin Kaepernick and, more importantly, our overall mission statement to the next level?
Not Coilin Kaepernick. You ain't large enough to make that kind of difference with the NBA. But if it were LeBron,
that's what I'm saying.
If it were Kevin Durant or somebody, it would have been different. But also understand something. Coilin Kaepernick took a knee and he brought attention to racial injustices that have been taking place in our nation. He forced you to take a side, which made it more courageous. But at the same time, from a pragmatic perspective, what exactly did it accomplish? We still don't know. Whereas in the case of LeBron James, along with Dwayne Wade and CP3 and Melo, not just by introducing the ESPYs, but by the commercials that they're making, along the lines of being in the midst of a multi-billion-dollar negotiation with the National Basketball Association as we speak. Understand that they're trying to promote change in the right way, because what they did was provoke the involvement of the NBA. So now the NBA is working in concert with the NBA players. They're making commercials. And if they go a step further, and I hope that they will, and they decide to throw a portion, even if it's just 1% of their collective bargaining agreement, into the communities. Now we're talking about after-school programs. We're talking about recreational facilities. We're talking about things being put up where youngsters, our younger generation, have something to do after school rather than run the streets while their parents are out there hustling or whatever. So while we're sitting there saying, well, these brothers ain't Coilin Kaepernick, they should have done this and they should have done that. Once again, we got to look at the forest from the trees and understand if we're doing things that are relatively beneficial. If you just talking and you want to march and you want to protest and you want to argue and you want to vent, that's fine. And it has its own level of effectiveness, but nothing compared to if you start putting monies where mouths are and creating change by building facilities and recreational facilities and after-school programs and things of that nature, where you're giving youngsters opportunities and alternatives. You're exposing them to different things. What if an NBA owner, for example, mandated that in his city, the coach and the players have to go into the community once a month? We're going to build this park. We're going to build this recreational facility. And by the way, it's incumbent upon you as a coach, as a player personnel director, as a scout, as a player, you have to visit that place at least once a month. Imagine if every NBA city, all 30 teams, did that in their respective city. Imagine if the NFL joined in, made the same decision for all 32 of their teams. Think about what if Major League Baseball jumped on the bandwagon, because they do have their RBI program, the Reviving Baseball in the City program. And what if they did that? All of a sudden, you have a collection of leagues that join forces. You're talking about tens of millions of dollars poured into the local economy. And all of a sudden, you ain't venting no more. You ain't kneeling no more, but what you did was facilitate getting things done. That's the way that we should be thinking. We should have a greater vision and a bigger vision, because you're talking about the owners getting involved. And why is that so important? Because the players can't make politicians act. They can give a voice to something, but it ain't gonna make politicians act. But when you're the owner, and you're responsible for a franchise that's generating and funneling millions of dollars to the local economy, if you got a problem with a local politician, they got to stand up at attention and listen, because you can take your business elsewhere and it can drastically and detrimentally affect the local economy, and that forces them to listen. So it's not just about the players speaking up. It's about the players speaking up in a fashion that provokes the owners to get involved and use their considerable influence to affect politicians who make decisions that directly and drastically influence our lives. That is how you handle problems, because in the end, if we harken back to the civil rights movement, keep in mind, that's why they did it. They didn't do it just to give a voice to something. They did it to force politicians to act. to turn transgressions and iniquities into laws that would benefit and favor us and eliminate those iniquities that were exacted against us as communities. They didn't want to just march and speak and vent. They wanted folks to act, and they forced the government to do so. The sports leagues, not just the players, the leagues themselves, led by the owners and the commissioners, are in more of a position than anyone in history to make the kind of change we've been dying for decades, if not centuries.
Shannon Sharpe.
You already know what it is. It's Barbershop Conversations. Hit the subscribe and the like button today.